the first woman to lead the crime subcommittee as ranking subcommittee member of the House Judiciary Committee since 1789. Please welcome one of the baddest sisters in Congress, my mentor, our leader, Congresswoman Shelia Jackson-Lee.
So very much. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to dance with this. I guess Tashawn used this to dance. I may not use this Cleola to dance, but I will tell you this. I've never been a teacher, but when people start moving while I'm speaking, I don't want to have a hand that gets broken. I hope the video doesn't have this on it. I understand everybody is human. I'm going to try to be right, as quickly to the point. It may be difficult. I am delighted to be in Cincinnati. Hello, Cincinnati! I really prefer this other one here, but I'll try to do the best with this. Can you hear me? Yes. I am delighted to be here. And as we do in Congress, everybody is our dear friend. But allow me to make at least acknowledgments of the Honorable C.J. McLean, for our ancestors must always be honored. And I know that he is now very, very, very proud. So you give him a rousing applause. It is important to honor those who are deserving of honor. I am grateful that a grand woman by the name of Cleola, who is my friend, we have known each other. I am a child of the A. Philip Randolph Institute. My grandfather was a Pullman porter, but Cleola has the DNA of A. Philip Randolph. She is the Philippa of the Institute. Give her a very big hand. She is right here. She's going to be at the NAACP. Love you. She has voting in her blood. I'm also privileged to acknowledge your dynamic members of Congress. In your absence, they claim the entire state. Your president is right. The Honorable Congresswoman Marcia Fudge is a dynamic and forceful leader in the United States Congress. And she is one of the reasons why poor people get to eat. As a member of the U.S. Committee on Agriculture, you can do better than that now. Marcia Fudge. I'm going to have your hands falling off by the time I finish about 4 o'clock this afternoon. Let me also acknowledge the former Speaker, I believe, of the Cincinnati House, and that is the Honorable Joyce Beatty. Claims you as well. Give her a very big hand. Your delegation is stupendous, and certainly your Senator now, Sherrod Brown, and your Senator-to-be, Ted Strickland. I know I'm allowed to make that kind of statement. Now, I like calling women presidents. I like going places where I can say a woman's name. I love your president, and there's nothing Alicia Reese can do about it. Nothing she can do. For she is what we all need to be doing. Seeding young women. Planting seeds from oak trees, or whatever you like. You might like a pecan tree. But seeding them and growing them, and they will not stray away much from your teaching.
Don't sit back looking and saying, whoa, that skirt is too short. Oh, she thinks she's got it going on. Have you done anything to pour into a vessel of a young woman? If you have not, shut up. Let me get on point now. Church calls a young pastor. The young pastor, if he's doing right, got a young wife. There you go, talking about what the young wife is wearing. I'm going to get to the point at some point. The young wife is young, is she not? But she's still a child of God. And so if you're not pouring nothing in it, she's still a first lady as well. So make sure you pour into the vessels of young women, and look what you're going to get. President Alicia Reese. Give her a big hand. Not far from her is the chair of this great conference, State Representative Coons, another dynamic and growing tree, Christy Coons, and she might say, I'm already a tree, but I'm delighted. Thank you so very much for your leadership. Thank you. I always want to be called a seed because that means that you understand that whatever I say, I started in life at 2 years old. I was a child prodigy, and so don't start calculating if I said I worked for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Just understand that I worked when I was 2 years old. Then you can't even calculate because I keep going backwards. So that's what I want to do. I start giving a speech and people start, ooh, I thought, I didn't know she was old. So just remember, if I start talking about Abraham Lincoln, I was 2 years old. Everywhere you go, somebody in the back of the room say, oh my goodness. I am inspired by this legislative caucus as I am by African Americans who are elected across this nation. And I don't come here out of arrogance to say to you that the United States Congress is the most powerful lawmaking body in the world. There are so many nuances to the work that we do that it is so very difficult to even recount. And of course, all of us will get, well, what are they doing? And as I listen to President Reese, as we are called the conscience of the Congress, names that you may be well aware of, the last remaining speaker in the 1963 March on Washington is in the United States Congress, John Lewis. And we are called the conscience of the Congress, and isn't it ironic that the 13 strong are called the conscience of the Ohio legislature? And there's a problem, because we are going along our different pathways, and right now today, as Alicia's called for voting rights to be included in the Constitution, that is our prerogative, even though it's ultimately both the Congress and, of course, the United States. Each state would have to be part of voting. It is still a movement that should be embraced. But yet, the legislators have not found themselves to an established confab where the Congressional Black Caucus meets with all of the state legislators, African American, and we will certainly have the opportunity for the more diverse group in the nation. If we converge as legislators and lawmakers, and we left that place with an agenda that every state legislature was having the body politic of the African American legislator standing up in that legislature not to be moved, I shall not be moved, and speaking in one voice about the power of the vote, passing legislation, about the criminal justice reform, passing legislation, connected to us in the United States Congress, and every aspect of economic development. And there was this movement, and newspapers began to report that what they're doing in Ohio is the same as California, is the same as Mississippi, is the same as the United States Congress. We would be turned around. So I will speak as briefly as I can about the power that is in this room. When I visit churches, and I am truly moved as I interact with my constituents, and each place I go, when I say there's a sweet sweet spirit in this place. Because I would hope when I go into a place of faith that there would be such exuding of sweetness that if I had lost my way, I would be aiming to say, this is a place I want to be. So in this room there is power, but there are those not yet self-anointed to even understand what the power they have. That is one of our greatest Achilles heels. We sit someplace and don't understand our power. But we're busy being, I don't want to say the words. I don't want to be heard. I didn't want to make that point. The time is running out. The meeting was supposed to be over. My sisters that are here and the gentlemen that are here, sometimes you are the only voice that can be heard. For while you sit elite, this is not condemnation, there are young mothers with 4 and 5 children looking for a pathway home. I'm not ashamed to say somebody in my community is being released today from a state or federal penitentiary. Because you see, sometimes the conditions are not those that I created. For if I have shame, I can't be helpful. Because as far as I know, it may be many white folks being released as well, but I take the burden that everybody that's being released from a federal penitentiary or state system looks like me. But when I help those folks, I'm helping all folks. So it is important as I'm thinking about this confab, and I hope maybe we'll get that working. Because we make commitments to do things and we're so busy. But think about it, if we all converged, we wouldn't have to worry about who's paying for it to get your penny to just get to the place that we say get to. Drive, bus it, train it, walk it, fly it. I will tell you that you will have a noticeable national impact. And so today, I want you to be thinking of this national impact, of the greatness of women and the power that you have. The vote is a mighty important tool. What I'm asking you to do as we talk just for a few minutes is to recognize your power. And so I bring you to Sojourner Truth, who said it best in her Ain't Kind Woman. We do as much, we eat as much, we want as much. We are no slouches. And you should be no slouch in the political process, in the process of liberation. And Secretary Clinton said, women are the largest untapped reservoir of talent in the world. African American women were the largest sole singular vote in 2008 and 2012. You don't even understand that. Unfortunately, the other fellow is full of, referring to where we are today, keeping within the 501c3, the other fellow is full of loud talk and no substance. Has the audacity to be able to present an unqualified, hysterical, and unfortunately misdirected entity to try to seek a position that would carry that person into the Oval Office. Now let me be very clear. All folk have foibles, or Achilles heels. But up close and personal, the former Secretary of State has a brilliant mind. Her first employer was an African American woman. What did I say? You don't even understand that. And we always say to work for the Children's Legal Defense Fund, an African American woman. And the woman that she admired as a politician was my predecessor, the Honorable Barbara Jordan. That says something about who you are. So the other fellow goes on. I'm grateful that people of varying levels are so free in this nation that they can throw themselves in front of a bus. Oh, I'm sorry, running for office. And so we can go on with that as a backdrop. I'm delighted that you'll be having Vernon Jordan this evening, someone who I have admired and truly believe that in his choice, he could have been President of the United States of America. Thank you, Vernon, for all of your service. But I want to remind you that we as women have not had it easy. But life for us ain't been no crystal stairs, like Luncheon has often said. But we have been praying for that son and that daughter. And we still are climbing, and we still are reaching. But right now, we have a task that is beyond any weakness in our step. This black vote, this liberation of this nation is truly at stake. And you have the power to vote and save America. If you think of nothing else, you need to think of the Supreme Court. Right now, it is hanging in the balance. For if we lose this election, as others may say, it will be a catastrophic uprising in terms of the legal balance in this nation. So my dear sisters, I want you to be determined like you've never been determined. Sometimes the D's, you don't want to see them. But I hope to leave you with these D's in your mind. Determined like you've never been before. Demonstrative, to be heard for what is right. Demanding, not for self, but for others. Dissecting. Oh, here's a bill. There's no really problems in it. If you put your name on it, if you need me to put something in for you, I'll be right with you. No compromise unless you dissect what it is. If it's not for the greater good, you move it on. We must face down those who want to divide this nation. Even though I'll speak generally, briefly in policy, I want the legislators to go places where others would not want you to go. Fight for the non-traditional committees so that you can be an expert in areas where they would not expect for you to be. I did not have a sense when I came to Congress. I would not have wanted to be on this committee. But I am now the senior woman on the Homeland Security. I was at ground zero during the recovery. I didn't say rescue. During the recovery of the remains of those who had fallen in this heinous terrorist act. And so I engage in issues from cybersecurity to the understanding of what's going on in Turkey, to the number of names of terrorist groups, to the idea of dealing with Muslims and how you do it and you don't solve the problem through a wall. But you find yourself in places in classified briefings. Why? Because you remember the Homeland Security Committee. Legislators, find yourself on some of those committees to be able to use your power to lift your communities, for them to understand further of the importance of dealing with terrorism in a far different way than some are offering to do it. For we're living in difficult times. So I would say to you that even though I am not focusing on this, I have trouble with someone who views the genius that is in this room as fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. I do not need to attribute who that is. For all of the women on The Apprentice flirted with me consciously or unconsciously, that's to be expected. And so I'm asking you to understand that we are in a moment in history that will require us to be determined and demonstrative, to be demanding, to be dissecting, and never to be deterred. Barbara Jordan understood that women, as she said, I believe that women have a capacity for understanding and compassion, which a man structurally does not have. Forgive me, brothers, does not have it because he cannot have it. He's just incapable of it. That's my mentor, so forgive me. This is our year. You've got to have an agenda that will have no limits when it comes to health care. No limits when it comes to reproductive rights. That's health care, by the way. No limits when it comes to educating our children. No limits when it comes to running for office, and no limits when it comes to pay equity. We cannot have limits on election day. The only limit we have is to be victorious. Remember what I said. You have got to be what? Determined. Demonstrative. If you got to stamp your foot down because you can't be demonstrative in any other way, try not to use your fists. Demanding for others and dissecting and never, never be deterred. I will tell you one of the reasons is because we as African American women are paid 63% of what non-Hispanic white men are paid, and that was in 2014, and we haven't made too many great steps. Overall, it's 79 cents per dollar. I think we're way behind. And when you hear pay equity, many, oh, that's not my issue. It's your issue if you're trying to represent the women at Burger King, which are now full-time jobs for individuals who are raising children. That is your issue. I don't know what's going on in the state of Ohio, but when people make light of the minimum wage of $15 an hour, people have to live. And many people don't understand the economy. If I got $15 and then you educate me to spend $10 on my block for legitimate items, then you are circulating the dollar. Let me see how many people are current and realize what the social network has just done and asked our community to invest in African American entities. I've got one black bank in Texas. They got standing room only in the last 4 days outside of the door trying to open the house. Don't underestimate our people. And let me say this from the perspective of not in any way in a discriminatory fashion. I am a student of Dr. Martin Luther King. He believed in the beloved community that is all colors and all races. But if I lift our boats, then all boats are going to be lifted. If I get you out of jail, then all people are going to be lifted. If I get you an education, everybody is going to be lifted. So I want you to recognize everybody's trying to get everybody into STEM. That's a good thing. But women make up 48% of the American workforce, but only 24% of our current STEM. Women today currently earn 41% of the PhDs, and they're only 28% in tenure track positions. And try to count women as presidents of universities and CEOs. As First Lady Michelle Obama said, if we're going to out-innovate and out-educate the rest of the world, we've got to open doors for everyone. We need all hands on deck. That means clearing hurdles for women and girls right here in America as they navigate careers in science, technology, engineering, and math. Don't tell them to go into STEM and then have them come out and sit and look idly while the rest of the highway is walking on past them. I'm telling you, my sisters, you got to finish the job. You know, in Congress, we are telling our friends, and they're our friends, do your job. We've got to finish the job. And as I said, the most powerful body in the world, lawmaking body. But I tell you, one of the most, how should I say, I'm not going to say proud moments, potent moments, when members of the United States Congress with skirts on sat down on the floor of the United States Congress because we believe that we have to be demanded, we have to be demonstrative, we have to pass that. We could not be that. So I ask you, as you look for what you are going to do in this next couple of months, you are to be reminded, as President Reese has said, that our voting rights are suffering and that you must be in the mix in order to be able to ensure that Section 5, that is the heart and soul of the Voting Rights Act, pre-clearance, which has generated the eons and eons of miserable voting prohibitions, as you faced in Ohio when your Attorney General and others were trying to shorten your election day. Don't tell me there wasn't an undercurrent, as they did in North Carolina or in Texas, where we had the voter ID law, the most burdensome voting ID law in the United States. Thank goodness for a federal court that said to your state, stop and vote from voting. Let them vote the whole early vote time. Somebody has to be demanding and determined and demonstrative. And I know you well because as President Reese has said, I seem to just fall into Ohio every 4 years, and I was here in '04 with the Honorable late, my dear sister, Stephanie Tubbs Jones. I was in the polls. I knew the Secretary of State, and I know that we didn't lose that race, just like we didn't lose Florida in 2000. It was the vote of the people that was the distinguishing. You just have to understand. Cut it off. If you want to know about voter ID laws, 25% of African Americans have no ID. They're Americans. 20% of Asian Americans, they're Americans. 19% of Hispanic Americans, they're Americans. Young people, 18 to 24, we love them. They're millennials. 18%. Persons with income less than $35,000, 15%. I don't know about you, but over my cold dead body, with those people who denied their constitutional right to be able to act on what citizenship is all about. You gotta be what? Demanding, demonstrative, not deferred. And just so I'm on the side of young people, let me be very clear. I've said to you that I'm tutored by Dr. King, worked for the SCLC, believe in nonviolence. It doesn't mean I don't admire and know and understand and was part of the Black Power movement, which was all about empowering. We were young, about calculating them. Or that I didn't appreciate the breakfast program of the Panthers. See, we have to be the articulators of the story. We've got to not be afraid to say, I went to a breakfast program. Maybe you didn't go to one, but find someone that did go. Or that you did not understand when Ivy League students were in campuses where they were isolated, and this effort of the Black Power, by the way, our good friend, Brother Brown, who sang the anthem, if you will, it was a sense of empowerment. Out of that came eons of African American Studies programs. Because the management or the hierarchy, the president and board, they got it. They understood what was needed. And now students go to African American Studies program across America, don't even know how it started, Cleola. It was a movement. That's what voting rights is. It's a movement. It was the loss of Jimmy Lee Jackson, Viola Lorenzo, a white woman. Was the ultimate assassination of Dr. King in 1968, even though they came before that. The built-up of the angst and anger. He was, tragically, the sacrificial lamb, along with Robert F. Kennedy, in terms of the times and era that was in. Let me remind you as well, to be able to say, not by diminishing, but in that time, there were those who thought that we were not going to make it as a nation. I'm not frightened by Black Lives Matter. We have been through this before. You've got to go and talk to those young people. Don't call them a name, millennials. They're your children. They are those who are the seed that are going to be the leaders. They are engaged. You got a 2-year-old, you put salve on that little scar that they have. You know they want to jump into your lap. They want to be hugged. I know it because I am the proud BB, no grannies in my name, BB, of 2 13-month-old twins. All they want is to jump in your arms. We think we're going to get brownie points because we run over here. I didn't like the way they behaved. Come on now. Pour into their vessel. They are nonviolent. If there are some thugs or some outsiders that want to come in and detour or take away, you embrace. And when I say that, I am not suggesting those people don't need help, but what I'm saying, they want to come and disrupt. Don't you go jump on a pedestal and talk about the violence. you need to embrace them so they understand what nonviolent protest is all about. It is a powerful tool. Get out there with them. Johnson said in 1965, the vote is the most powerful instrument ever devised by man for breaking down injustice and destroying the terrible walls which imprison men because they are different from other men and women. And frankly, President George W. Bush had the biggest smile on his face when we joined together as we reauthorized the Voting Rights Act, Section 5 in 2006, part of the Judiciary Committee work. We had a celebration at the White House. This is not a partisan issue. He believed that it was important that there be no one in America that be prohibited from voting. I will not stop in the courthouse or the door if you're white trying to vote, if you're Hispanic or Asian or woman or African American or disabled or LGBT. This is a birthright of the American citizen to cast their vote. In the last 48 hours, we've seen Nice, France. You've seen Brussels. You've seen Paris. And if you're not a student of Homeland Security, you will be led to be engaged that the world is coming to an end. It's time to elect so-and-so because he's the fighter against terrorism. Let me give you a constitutional lesson. Under the three branches of government as evidenced and stated in the Constitution, the only body that can declare war is the Congress of the United States of America. Some may have wanted to, but it is the Congress of the United States. That's how powerful a vote is. Because a vote will then catapult a person that maybe, let me be dignified as my mother would want, may have not read the Constitution. That's a difficult position to be in. And therefore would be carrying on duties without having the framework, my brothers, of the three branches of government, the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. Clearly that is the case when you begin to attack a federal judge who has a case of yours inside their courtroom. Far be it from the judge to even be concerned because he or she understands that they are a separate branch of government. But that's how important the vote is. That's how important the vote is. Let me tell you what voter ID laws have done. Curtailing or eliminating early voting, Ohio. Ending same-day registration. Not counting provisional ballots cast in the wrong. Now you see, when I started counting all these things, they said, there she goes. She must be about 90 years old. But in any event, I was in Florida looking at hanging chads. Trying to put on glasses thicker than this to count the hanging chads. And because someone was elected Secretary of State, now if there are any lawyers in the room, they know that if a business deadline falls on Sunday, you get an extra day. Most of the lawyers know that. As the judge, I'll give you an extra day. Your pleadings are supposed to be in on Sunday because the date says da-da-da-da-da, and it's Sunday, you have an extra day. And we were in that hall looking at hanging chads, and the then Secretary of State Harris, who we made a plea that it is Sunday, give us until Monday to complete, even though the deadline fell on Sunday, and we waited and waited. And I don't want to break this, and the gavel came back and said, shut it down. Shut it down. And so the voting process to ask and answer the question of who was elected in 2000 was ended because somebody of us did not vote. Somebody did not vote. eliminating teenage pre-registration, shortening poll hours, lessening the standards governing voter challenges to vigilantes. My dear friends, do you want that to be in your future? And so today, as you gather, it is extremely important that the women in this room understand the power in your own physical body and the psychic that you call your mind. We know your heart is strong, for you have been those who have nurtured the fallen for all of your life. Whether it be relative, spouse, or partner, whether it be child, whether it be that newborn baby, you have been the nurturer. America is crying out for your nurturing. America is crying out for you to link arms with sisters of the diverse community. There can be no silence in this room. There can be no wallflowers in this room. There can be no one who said, I don't want to embarrass my colleagues. I'm not going to the mic right now. I didn't ask you to be rude and abusive. I asked you to walk to that mic and put it the way it's supposed to be. Use the parliamentary inquiry, the process that is used. Let your constituents know. Get into high tech. Be current. Instagram. Go off the floor. I'm letting you know. I am disrupting right now. I'm going to the mic. I am being demanding. I will not be deterred. I am being demonstrative. I am dissecting this legislation, and buried inside of it is the extinguishing of your right to vote. It is the elimination of food stamps. It is the accusation that you are no good, and so your program dealing with education, I'm not going to give that money. We're budgetary, fiscal conservatives. You need to be at the microphone. Ranking member on the Criminal Justice Committee, I came in and I said I want to breathe life into this committee. Wonderful predecessors that many of you know that we worked with. But I wanted to make sure that we were at a moment in history where there were Republicans speaking criminal justice reform, the Cook brothers, the faith community. But I can tell you the road has been rocky. For it is amazing what obstacles will be put in your way, how long it has taken us. We've written it in 2015. We're wobbling along the finish line. We are at a point where we have a bill that will let out 50,000 over 10 years. Please understand that the president's commutation is not codified. It is an executive order. When he goes out, it's gone. We want to have a process in which you will be able to get out on nonviolent offenses dealing with drugs. Ask a Chicago defender, a young attorney who wrote an op-ed and said, we can't wait. Tyree, who was convicted at 17, a foster child, deterred in the wrong direction, got in on conspiracy, 35, 40 years is his sentence. He would be able to come out now. Prison reform written by a woman that have parental skills for those getting out, anger management so an abuser doesn't go abuse again, college education and a GED, and job and counseling and housing in the federal prison reform bill that is on the verge of passing if I get this room to raise up and be able to speak to their legislators for what we need to do. This is what I'm talking about, the circle that needs to be part of this movement. In addition, I've been named to the working committee, bipartisan, 6 members on each side of dealing with police accountability, dealing with issues of aggression. And I am prayerful the hearts of all of us will be touched, to not be political, but to look factual. To be able to acknowledge Mr. Castillo, to be able to acknowledge the man that throngs came out and children cried. Or to acknowledge this brother, Mr. Sterling, who had a rocky road. Abandoned at an early age, parents died, raised himself, has 5 children, tried to make ends meet. Yes, he had a series of stops and misdemeanors and whatever else it was. I'm not raising up the hand of applause, but I sure can give a black man a celebration who is with his family and doing the best he can in the atmosphere that we're in. I can do that. Can you? Or Premier Rice, the youngest innocent prayerful, yes, I wish he didn't have a BB gun, but he did not deserve to die. Walter Scott, I'm sorry his tail light was out, but he didn't deserve to die. I am sorry that Trayvon Martin was a tall, good-looking young man visiting his father in a developed community, in a gated community, minding his own business. Anybody that don't have a big boy in their family haven't lived. Michael Brown was a big boy. Eric Garner was a big man. They didn't deserve. That's right. And the 5 police officers and others who are in doing their duty, in the line of duty, did not deserve to die, and I am no way tired and fearful of speaking truth to power. But if we continue down the path we are, Mr. Johnson in Dallas was armed with semi-automatic weapons, automatic weapons. Yes, he came out of Afghanistan. I actually employ a wounded warrior in my office. I have spent and visited Iraq and Afghanistan many times. I have seen the condition these young people were in. Many parents will tell you what their conditions are, but they need help. So I'm going to give an SOS right here. I want parents to know that you are much better getting help than to be interviewed by the news saying, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. What did I say? You got to be demanding and demonstrative. You got to be part of healing this community and healing America. That means we've got to be better than somebody else who just wants to get on a soapbox and talk about black lives did this, or the President of the United States whose heart is broken that he had anything to do with any of this tragic killing that is going on. Oh, I'm so angry about that. My mother always said, loose lips sink ships. These folks are trying to sink the American ship, but I will tell you, Congresswoman Shelia Jackson Lee holds the Constitution in her hand. I'm not going to let naysayers, ne'er-do-well, destroy this nation. This is a great country. I live here. I'm part of this country. I deserve to be respected and dignified. How dare you ignore the statistics that tells me how many African-American men, how many guns, more guns in the hands of Americans than any other item. We can get more guns, or you can get a gun, more of a gun in your hand than you can get a voting card. You can get more guns than a library card. You can get more guns than a book in your hand in America. And because of the loose lips headline of the Houston Chronicle, America arming up. I hope this sobers you up. But you've got to get organized and speak truth. So as Maya Angelou has said, you're phenomenal women. I love you, every one of you. No matter what your background, immigrant status, Caucasian, Hispanic, African American, Asian, and others. If you're generationally cute and young, as I am, or if you're trying to call yourself wise. I have no senior status, no elder status, but you may be wise. You are still phenomenal women. But it is up to you to believe and to find your pitch or your space in life, to be able to be that rebel rouser
who believes in accepting deeds, demanding, demonstrative, not ever to be deterred, among others, and to make sure that your voice is heard. So I will define you in one portion of Maya's words. It is the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I am a woman, phenomenal women. A fire, a flash, and it's all right to have a swing. You're going to be like Dorothy. You're going to clap those heels, and you're going to take us on to victory. They're going to say, she's clapping her heels at her table on the floor of the legislature. She's clapping her heels in the high school classroom, folk in the back acting up. She's clapping her heels on the way to church. She's clapping her heels going to a sick bed. She's clapping her heels, trying to get the power. They'll be clapping heels all across America. Those clapping heels, like Dorothy, will truly be a part of what this movement will be. I close by leaving you with a few pearls from the likes of Sojourner Truth. I want you to know that Sojourner Truth became the first statute ever in the United States Congress of a black woman. I am not saying that for eyes. Let me pay tribute to C. Dolores Tucker, who rode my back like she had never seen a congressperson ever in life. She was in my office, she was in the Congress, she was in the Senate, she was in the House, because she said that Sojourner was left out of the suffragette statute. There was a statute. It is. No woman of color was connected to that statute. And Sojourner was an abolitionist, you know, because she traveled around this area and a suffragette. And so we organized. I passed the legislation. I almost had a fight on the floor about midnight of 2008. It wasn't the person's fault. They were trying to get another bill, and they figured they'd tear me down. Hillary Clinton, not knowing what her future would be, was my co-sponsor in the Senate. And about midnight on the last session in 2008, we passed this bill, and African-American women and corporate friends across America helped pay for Sojourner. Sojourner brought herself into the United States Capitol, and lo and behold, almost 3,000 women came to celebrate her with then the First Lady of the United States, who happened then to be Michelle Obama, the former Secretary of State, who happened to be Hillary, Speaker of the House, who happened to be Nancy Pelosi, yours truly, and that's what women can do when they set their minds to it. There's some women in this room. That little man in black over there, when he said, yes, sir, to her in the back of the room, he says a woman can't have much rights as men because Christ wasn't a woman. Where did your Christ come from? Where did your Christ come from? From God and a woman, man, has nothing to do with it. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. What did I say? Demonstrative, demand. Don't be deterred. That's what you start doing is saying, oh, I can't talk. And Geraldine Farrar, bless her soul, said, we've chosen the path of equality. Don't let them turn us around. And when women choose equality, it is for men and boys. It's for America. It's for all of us. It's for generations. It is not a selfish journey that we take. Women, I'm telling you, you are in the driver's seat. I'm telling you to get up and get going. I believe in the value of reading the scriptures. And so I tell you today, as I go to my seat, I love chapter 37 of Ezekiel because there's a lot of dry bones in this place. And if you don't understand scripture, I will tell you that you need to prophesy against the dry bones. And as I said, God yes, on to these bones. America has dry bones. America is in pain. People are dying. Bad, divisive language is tearing us apart. They are saying if one more terror act
is in place, then we will have that person over there to carry us forward, because America has dry bones who are not listening, do not have faith, do not understand that we are holding on to his unchanging hand. I don't care if you're Buddhist or Muslim or Catholic, I don't care if you believe in Judaism, whatever it is, there's a higher power, and I say to you today, you better walk out of here with chapter 37 Ezekiel and tell us that I'm going to infuse flesh on the dry bones. Help for young mothers are in. Pay equity is in. The dry bones will no longer be part of America's history.